Welcome to the DNA show.
DNA? Dude, are we doing a science show?
No, D is for Dennis.
Oh, A is for Andy.
And N is for and?
Oh, man, nerds. Because we're
yeah.
nerds, dude.
Yeah. Well, good. Then we can talk about comics and movies and pop culture and sports.
Sports. Sports and nerds. Yeah, we're going to make that work.
All right, let's roll.
Here we are, another fun-filled episode of the Dennis and Andy Show, and I'm Andy.
And this is Dennis. Welcome back.
Starting off with, what I consider us, Dennis, good boys.
Yeah, we are really good boys.
We're good boys.
Right.
Growing up, my mom was like, you and your brother, you're good boys.
See, and I was the good boy. My brother wasn't, and I know he's listening to this, so that's why I'm saying it.
Oh, well, there you go. You can throw him under the bus. I don't know him, but I agree, Dennis. You're the good boy. But we bring it up because in 2019, it was late 2019 too, I believe.
Yeah, it was like I think one of the last movies we got to see.
A movie came out called Good Boys. And the basic premise of the movie was 3 6th grade boys ditch school to embark on an epic journey while carrying accidentally stolen drugs. They're being hunted by the teenage girls and trying to make their way home in time for a long-awaited party. Now, 6th grade boys, these boys are like 6th grade. I mean, you're like 10, 11 years old. You're preteen.
Well, they're tweens. I mean, they bring it up. So, I mean, they're tweens. They're 12-ish, 13, somewhere
13,
right in there.
13 is, think about it, though. 13 is right around 8th or 9th grade. Because 13, 14, 15, 16...
Well,
9,
16
10, 11,
you're a
12.
sophomore because then you get your driver's license. As a sophomore. Freshman, you're 15.
My daughter turned 17 in May. She just went through her whole junior year, basically, as a 16-year-old.
Wow.
She entered high school. Like, when I entered high school, I was 13. I mean, it depends on what your birthday is, but
right.
These kids are roughly around 11 or 12.
Yeah, they call themselves tweens,
right,
and they're 6th graders. I mean, they're in this, and I'm doing air quotes, 6th grade class.
Right. I mean, we all know the actors are a little bit older because they do that because they look younger. But still, okay, the movie was outrageously hysterical.
Very funny.
It was raunchy. It's rated R.
Yes.
It's rated R because of language.
This is not a family movie.
No. There's no sex in it.
No.
Because the main cast are these 3 young boys. So there's no sex in it, but the language, the situations, just, I gotta be honest, like, I felt uncomfortable watching it with Courtney, who was 16 at the time, because while she's in high school and she's seen this, she's definitely heard everything coming out of these kids' mouths and stuff. You just think to yourself at that age, the stuff. I mean, there's sex dolls in this movies,
right?
There's sex toys in the movies,
but the kids don't know. So the premise winds up being that one of the boys has a crush on a girl,
right? And
they get invited by the cool kid to their first kissing party.
Right.
And, of course, acting all cool, they're like, of course we'll be there. And, of course, none of the boys have been to a kissing party, and they're freaking out. So they do the smart thing that all 6th graders would do at this point.
Right.
I'm going to go onto the internet and learn about...
I'm so glad the internet didn't exist when I was a kid.
Yes.
Finish what you were saying. Yeah, I cut you off, but go ahead.
So
they go on the internet.
Yeah, they go on the internet, and of course they type in kissing and other things, and of course it takes them to porn sites.
Right.
And of course they're like, well, they're kissing, but they're kissing with the wrong parts of their body. And my daughter's watching this with me. She's in her very early 20s, and she's got so much secondhand embarrassment. She's covering her face the entire time.
My 16-year-old daughter was watching this, and my 16-year-old daughter is a very innocent person, and you could see the look on her face, just like, what are they talking about? And, and she didn't ask me, thank God. But, when I was a kid and I was 15 or 16, we had, at the end of our block, we lived on a dead end. And at the end of the block, the dead end was this set of woods. And when you're a kid, you think, like I remember back thinking that they were huge. And they really weren't. Like, by the time I left to go off to art school, college, the woods were torn down, and they built a funeral home. And when you actually look at it, and you look where the dead end started, and the length of the woods, it really wasn't that big, But as a kid, they just seemed huge. I mean, I remember going through the woods, climbing trees. There were vines that we could swing on. We had underground forts. But one of the things, and I think this is like a stereotype from the 80s, and let me know if you ever saw something like this, Dennis. There was that paper bag in the woods, and in the paper bag were like Playboys and Penthouse magazines and stuff. And I don't know who put them there, but they were all beat the crap, torn up and stuff. But you could look through them still and flip through them, and they were just kind of crusty. And like I said, I don't know how they got there. But that's, we knew where they were stashed.
They were the hidden thing out in the air. I mean, we had a train yard by our house, and it was the same thing. You could walk down there, and there were like little stashes. So you knew other people, boys, kids, came there occasionally, and that was kind of their spot.
That's where they stashed. And you'd see the empty bottles and stuff. And that was our internet, because there was no internet back then. But that was our internet to look at porn.
Yeah.
And adult magazines and stuff. But now, like you said, these sixth graders in this movie are just like, Google men and women kissing. And it's like, just that simple phrase can take you down a bad path.
And it does. And so it winds up being hilarious. So the boys have to figure. And so the three main boys, their names are Max, Lucas, and Thor. Right. Max is the kid who's kind of the cool, popular one. Lucas is the bigger kid, and he's got a heart of gold. Innocent as all can be.
Oh, yeah.
Has to tell the truth on everything.
Totally.
Thor winds up being, he looks like a bruiser, and he's all big talk, but in the end, he always, he never backs anything up. So they call him Sippy Cup because, it was so funny because they're talking, the school record right now is 3. They're talking about drinking beer. And we're all going, oh yeah, 3 beers. Wow, that's pretty good. And they're like, 3 sips. Whoa, sips? And of course, it's just great. Finally, he's like, I'm going to break it, and because they're calling him Sippy Cup, Sippy Cup. Yeah. And I'm like, sips. Oh my God. It was so good. But he's the singer. He's got this incredible voice. But that's not cool because, he decides not to sign up for the big play and stuff like that. And, but anyway, these boys go out there, they've got to learn how to kiss. So the dad of Max, he goes on a business trip and he's got this really cool drone. And he goes, this is for work. No, you can never, ever, ever touch this drone.
Nope.
So immediately we all know. The kids talk him into, well, there's girls in the neighborhood. Use the drone and let's go find them kissing and, watch it. So they do. And they zoom in and they start fighting over the drone with the remote control and the girls see it and they swat it and they wind up capturing it. Hence, this leads into the 2 babysitters, trying to get, the kids need to get the drone back and from the babysitters who, of course, have this Molly, which the kids wind up getting, which are in a vitamin case. And the whole thing pursues because the girls want their Molly for their party and the boys need their drone back and they just won't make a swap and they keep trying to trick each other. It winds up being a great chase thing throughout the entire movie until the drone gets destroyed.
That's right. And the dad, whose drone it is played by Will Forte, who's just an hysterical actor. He does a great job. I kind of wish he was in the movie more, but it wasn't about him.
Yeah.
But instead of casting just a throwaway for the dad, they did a great casting job with Will Forte. There are definitely, here's one spoiler from the movie is we brought up how these boys come across sex toys. And one of them
they're in the closet.
Anal. beads.
ANAL.
Because that's how the
Anal
boys
beads.
pronounce it. Anal beads.
Oh, these are weapons.
Right.
So they need money. So the premise is they're going to sell one of their, it looks like a magic card, very, very rare magic card,
Right.
or one of the old CC. So they're going to sell it like for $400 because they need like $600 to buy the new drone.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
they're going to go sell this. So this older guy who they claim looks like a pedophile comes to the house, and the boys go, well, we need weapons. So they dig through the closet and pull out all of these weapons, including various sex toys, anal beads. And when the guy answers the door, the one kid's in like one of the leather masks with the zipper mouth.
Do you remember whose house they were in where they found all that stuff?
Because
I have not
I think
watched
it
the
was.
movie.
I think it was Max's house, the one with the drone in it.
Okay.
Yeah, but they don't actually say because there's the sex toys that
Max,
they're bringing out.
Max is the one that has the sister that they won't let participate in stuff. So they're like, oh, it's boys only.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So it's their house. And of course, so it's really funny. So they're going through, what are these? What are these? What kind of weapons are these? So, they have various length of sexual devices and stuff they're pulling out, but these kids are innocent. They have no
they have
idea.
no clue.
And then, of course, Lucas, the kid of gold, he picks up the anal beads. He goes, oh, and the ones Thor's like, oh, they're nunchucks. And he starts swinging them around. He hits them in his head. He goes, no, I think it's like a necklace. And he picks it up and he goes, wow, these smell like shit.
Why do these smell so bad?
Oh my God, it was great. But when the guy shows up, the pedophile guy, it was so funny because the kids were there. Oh, and they were going to practice kissing. So he goes,
Right.
well, my dad's got a CPR doll.
doll.
Oh, well, that's cool. And they go up in there and you see the doll. She's laying, sitting up on the bed. And the kids are sitting there and they're like, he goes, all right, well, you kiss it. So he leans forward and starts kissing it. Now, we're already looking at this doll going,
That does
not look like the CPR doll that I've
CPR
seen.
dolls aren't pretty,
No.
and usually they're just generic males.
Yeah. This
was a sex doll.
Yeah. So the kid goes to kiss it. He's like, ugh, and he's pulling back, and they're like, what? Was it that bad? He goes, why is there hair in the mouth? And he's pulling it out, and we're like, oh my God. So we all knew what kind of a doll it is. So they can't part with the card when the pedophile boy shows up, the guy who's going to buy it. And they kept calling, so they bring the doll down, dress it up, and say, that's my mother in the kitchen.
Right, because they don't want the dude to think that they're by themselves. So they want to make sure that the guy thinks there's an adult in the house. So they dress the doll up, bring it down, set it at the kitchen table, obviously with its back facing the door, so all you can see is the back of it. And yeah, from the back, you just assume some adult woman is sitting at the kitchen table, and they try to pass it off as their mom. And then
he goes and talks to her and touches her, ma'am, can I get a glass of water? And she falls over onto the floor. And then he's like, well, kids, if you don't want to give up the card, how much for the doll? And they're like, you want the CPR doll? He goes, the CPR doll. So they wind up selling it for, I think, $450.
Yeah, they get the money.
Yeah, and the kids, it was so hilarious. The kids like, well, I would have sold it for $300, and he goes, I would have paid $1,000. It was awesome. So they get the money, so they have to go all the way across the big city to this mall in order to go buy the drone, because they call up and they've got one left. So the boys say, please hold it for me.
And you got to remember that all the way across the city to sixth graders is to an adult just saying, oh, I just got to drive over here, which it's not that far. But,
it was 4 miles in there.
4 miles. And once again, I remember being a kid growing up, and the one mall that we would go to all the time where I grew up was 4 miles away. And the reason I know it is because the straight shot to the mall, we lived really close to an interstate, and you would just get on the interstate and drive 4 miles and get off at the exit, and boom, you were at the mall. And I remember driving there with my parents and stuff, and we get in the car just thinking, oh my God, how far away is this place? And now, as an adult, when I drive places, I mean, just the supermarket where from my house is about that distance. And it's nothing. It's nothing. But as a kid, you're just like, 4 miles. How are we ever going to get there?
Yep. Yeah.
So they have to go on this journey.
So we know it's a pretty good sized city. You just don't know at the time. But they eventually see, and it's like E.T. at the crest of the hill. You look over and you can see the mall up ahead. And then you look down and you see an interstate, a highway of some sort that's like an 8 or 10-lane highway with a median in the middle, so separating the 4 or 5 lanes on both sides. And they realize they get down there, they have to cross it. There's no sidewalks, there's no nothing. They have to be able to cross it. The good news is it's rush hour or drive home traffic. So the traffic is basically stopped.
Yeah.
So the kids are like, oh, cool. And they start crossing the highway, which is barely moving. The people are honking at them, and they get halfway over. They crawl over the median to the other side, and they get into an argument. And they start fighting. And you see them, blah, blah, blah. No, I think this and this. And they're arguing. Well, as they're arguing, you can see the traffic start moving really quickly.
Well, it's that, but it's also that rush hour only goes in one direction. So they lucked out the first way.
Right.
Because it was more bumper to bumper, where the second way wasn't full speed, but it was quicker because it was the non-rush hour direction. And they had to cross that. And that was almost like that game Frogger. Remember Frogger?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. So the kids notice, as soon as they're done arguing, the traffic is zooming at 50 miles an hour. And they're like, no! There is no way to get in there. So finally, Max, the short one, he was like, he just starts screaming, ah! And literally just runs. Closes his eyes and just runs. And they're like, no! He makes it across. We're like, what? How is that even possible with all that traffic? And then the second part was like George Costanza in like that Frogger episode. If anybody's seen the Frogger episode where he buys the Frogger machine and he has to move it across, he's like moving forward, dancing to the left, dancing to the right, going back, moving forward. Lucas crosses it by doing the Frogger maneuvers, and we're laughing because we all know it's Frogger. And then it's up to Sippy Cup. Thor to cross, which of course was hilarious. So this scene winds up being so incredibly funny, and of course it's physical comedy, but it was incredibly well done.
The movie from start to finish is just a riot.
Yes.
It all works out in the end, needless to say, but it is if you're looking for a good comedy, I believe. I can't remember if it's on Netflix. I know it's on HBO. It's on HBO. Obviously, you can rent it anywhere.
That's what I wound up doing. I'm on Vudu, and so I just bought it through Vudu because my daughter wanted to watch Emma when she was home, so I had to buy that, and I saw that. I'm like, okay, I know she hasn't seen this. Have to watch this.
And, honestly, if you're going to watch Emma, you got to balance it out. So when the scales of justice, Emma's here, Good Boys is here, and they really balance each other well.
Uh-huh.
Or should I say, if you watch Emma, you have to wash the taste of that movie out of your mouth with something fun. So then you watch Good Boys.
Yeah. Yes. Needless to say, Good Boys, it is good humor all the way through. Now, there's a lot of sexual innuendo. Oh, yeah. So for the younger people, it'll go right over their head. For us, it's almost cringeworthy at times. The fight in the fraternity house is classic, and it involves paintball guns. There is so much good physical humor in this, but it's all about the friendship of the boys. Right. And what to me makes this work isn't just the humor. The boys' friendship, they call themselves the Beanbag Boys. Right. We're the Beanbag Boys.
They have a little bit of turmoil. That's what it boils down to, is that friendship bond that you have when you're that age, and you see how they had their disagreements and stuff, but they do end up pulling back together. And I don't know about you, Dennis, but I'm still really good friends with my best friend that I met when we were in third grade. He was best man at my wedding. We had adventures like this. It it's definitely not, even though the cast is kids, it's not a kids movie because it's R-rated, but it will definitely evoke memories from when you were a kid, good memories from when you were a kid, hopefully.
Yep.
And just that alone, is just makes it fun.
It does. I mean, the humor is great. The story is fun. The two older babysitters, as you find out about them, they're fun. It's a good cast, but it's about friendship, knowing that as they get older, they will separate because usually your youngest friends, most people don't have their third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade friends. Usually it's high school, college and stuff.
Right.
And they accept it, but they know there's a bond there and they will always stay friends even when life diverges them and they go across. So it's a good tween movie that has all the adult humor, so it's a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yeah, it totally is. So what grade are you giving it? CGC grade on this one? I will go... you know what? I'm going a 9.0.
And I was going to do a 9.2, near mint minus.
Yeah.
There's a few things that I would do, but not a lot. It was very enjoyable. A movie that I would recommend to a lot of people. Just understand the type of material that we've talked about, so it's not appropriate for all ages. It's rated R for a reason, but it's worth it.
I would go, what's the R rating? Is it no one supposedly 17 and under?
Yeah.
See, I would almost change that to 16, I think, because I probably wouldn't take a 15-year-old to see it. And, you're kind of splitting hairs going 15, 16, what's the thing?
Well, it's definitely worse than a 13, the 13 rating.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if I would go R on it. I can see kind of where they did, but...
Well, it's...
There's nothing in between it.
No, it's the language.
Yeah.
And it's I don't even know if the sexual innuendo has anything to do with it. I think it's just the language. It's that whole thing where if you don't realize it, a PG-13 movie, you're allowed to have one F-bomb in it.
Yep.
One. So what I like doing is when we see a PG-13 movie, I love keeping my eye out, or my ear out, I should say, for that one F-bomb. Because it always happens.
It always happens.
Always. And some movies make fun of it by literally dropping it and looking almost right at the camera when they do it. So I would think this movie is R because of the language more than anything else. I can't think of anything in it that will pull an R rating. Because like I said, there wasn't any nudity.
No, not at all.
There was no sex.
Nope. The little bit of kissing, that is literally...
Yeah, that was it.
It's language and sexual content without there being sex.
Right.
So, and there's a fair amount of it. But anyway, great movie. We recommend seeing it, so go rent your copy of it.
That's right. Check it out.
So
very cool.
The next thing wound up being my family was down in Myrtle Beach. We were down for a few days in the fun and sun, and we went and visited a couple of our friends down there, really good friends that live down in Myrtle Beach, and we did a cookout with them, so it was great to see them. And they're the ones who do the Grand Strand Comic Con. So yeah, Brad and Jen had a great time with you guys down there. Thank you. And we were in the hotel one night, and my niece and nephew got stuck on watching Teen Titans Go.
Oh yeah,
and they have this absolutely wonderful episode, which really harkened me back to their age, and it was all about Starfire. Mm-hmm. She's not special. Now, granted, she is a superhero
and an alien.
So
that's pretty special.
But in her mind, she's not special. She's done nothing special.
Oh,
so they order a book through the mail. The Book of World Records.
Oh, man.
Which I, as a kid, always had a copy of or checked one out at the library. But whenever the Scholastic things came out, I always ordered something that was related to the Guinness Book of World Records.
That is something that my daughter, I think that's a phase every kid goes through. Or if you, like you said, when I was a kid, I was always fascinated by the Guinness Book as well. So that could be it, because when my daughter had the book fairs at school and stuff, that was a book she got on almost a yearly basis for 4 or 5 years, was the Guinness book.
Yeah.
It's just a fun book to go through. And then, in Myrtle Beach, they don't have there's not a Guinness, there's a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum.
Yes.
Which, has some, obviously, world record stuff in it.
Yep.
So, yeah, that book is just fun to flip through just for the insane stuff that's in it.
So it was a cute episode because she orders the book and they're like, oh, I'm going to do one of these and become special. And they're like, well, it takes a lot of commitment no matter what you decide to do. So she's looking through it and she decides on, I want to grow the longest fingernails in the world. And immediately I heard that and went, oh, I actually have to sit down and watch this. Because one of the coolest things that I remember when I was their age was in one of the books, they had the really long fingernails. And I remember the picture stuck in my head. And then it changed years later as I got different editions. And it was just so funny because as we're watching this, so this winds up being a Strange Tales.
Now wait, in the cartoon, did they kind of show the page, or did they just show her like flipping through it and going, "I want to do this"?
Yes, they show her flipping through it. I want to do this, so it doesn't show the person.
Right.
So it's funny because she goes, "I am going to do this," and you start seeing like time jumps over the years, and the Teen Titans are doing their things, and her fingernails get longer and longer and longer, and then it like ages. So it's like, Robin is old. He's like got a cane and everything like this. It's in season 6, episode 13. I think it's called Record Book. And it was just great because he's like, oh, and her fingernails are so long now. And probably because she's an alien,
right? They're
already bursting out the walls of the Teen Titans headquarters.
That is just such a and that obviously that was a real world record of women held. It's just so gross.
Right. So I'll get to the Strange Tales part, which is one of the ladies that I remember who held the world's longest record. There was a gentleman, I think, that had it, and then she took it over, and she's the picture I remember from one of the versions.
That's what I always thought it was a woman. That's what I remember.
Yeah. So anyway, there wound up being a Strange Tales story on it. So her name is Lee Redmond. We'll post something on the site so you can see a picture of it. She now holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest fingernails ever on a woman, and they had grown. She hasn't cut her fingernails since 1979. All right. Yeah. The pictures are awesome. They're off, and she has to dip them in warm olive oil every day, and then she basically paints them.
How do you sleep with those things?
I have no idea.
How do you shower? How do you do anything? How do you go? How do you get in a car and go somewhere? I mean, you've got to see. What's the length of those things?
So the longest she got was 8.65 meters. So in here, if we think of it as 8.5, say almost 9 yards, that's 27 feet per fingernail.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes. 8.65 meters. It says in total. So now that actually makes me wonder. Earning her the Guinness World Record for the longest fingernails on a pair of hands.
Yeah, so I wonder if that's all of them added.
I wonder if that, yes, because it says, so it's very specific. So, because you never see the ends of it except for the one picture, and they look like they're 3 feet long, 2.5 feet long.
That's what I was saying. If I remember correctly, they look like, but still, we're not saying that's not a feat, because it is.
79 was the last time she clipped them.
Oh my God.
41 years ago.
Does this say if that woman's married?
Well, she's a grandmother, so
oh my God.
Yep. So she's from Salt Lake City, which is cool because I'm originally from that area. I'd be going out there to visit it again. But here's the Strange Tales part. So with this being on Teen Titans right now. Her place in the world record books was cut short when she was...
No pun intended. I see what you did there.
I know, right? She was recently involved in a car crash, and her nails were ripped off. Yes.
And they didn't just break. I bet they were ripped off at the nail bed because they were so long.
She was sitting in the passenger seat when the car she was in crashed into 3 other vehicles, and she was actually thrown into the road. So I don't know if she was wearing a seatbelt or not here to judge.
You know what's even worse about that is, at least if she was able to say, okay, I've done this long enough, I am going to cut them. They could have made a spectacle about her cutting them. They could have then taken them and, I don't know, done something to them to make them, I mean, they're fingernails, so they're not going to disintegrate or something, I don't think. Just do something with them to, once again, in the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum, they could have been a artifact on display for people to look at in a case.
That's true.
But this stupid auto accident, it's got me thinking, though. She hasn't cut her nails since 1979. I've never shaved my legs. Why am I? Never. Not once have I shaved my legs. Not once. The hair on my legs has never been cut, never had scissors taken to them, never a razor, never have I shaved my legs.
So you're asking why don't you look like Sasquatch?
Exactly.
Well, that's because John Byrne didn't draw you.
Damn it. Damn it to hell.
So she was sad. She immediately saw her fingernails in the road and just burst out crying.
I would too.
And she goes, it was just something I had to accept because I couldn't change anything. She goes, the thing that bothered me was it became your identity. And I felt that I had lost that. So now she still holds the record for the longest nails ever, but she's no longer the current record holder because now her nails are gone. There's another person who's been letting it grow, and so she's now the current holder for the longest nails currently.
Is it?
See what I'm saying?
Right. So wait, currently it's not her, it's somebody else.
Right, because the other person's still growing. So the person who's still growing them is the current holder, but she's the all-time record holder.
But we don't know how long that other person's are or anything.
It doesn't say, and it wouldn't be in the Guinness Book of World Records yet.
Right.
Until
because she has
edition.
To beat. Oh, right.
Right. So now let's fast forward into Starfire. So this is exactly the same scenario. So she's in there. Robin's an old man, basically. He's got his cane. He's like, oh. And he goes, are you ever going to be done? No, and it's hard to shower, and it's hard to do all these things.
Yeah, sure.
But she's sitting on the couch, and her arms are out, and the nails are literally going through both walls outside. And all of a sudden, they're like, how long are you going to keep this up? Well, I need to get the record to be special. All of a sudden, the Teen Titans alert comes in there. Beep, beep, beep. Oh, I wonder what that is, says the old Robin. And they go and find out a meteorite is heading to Earth, barreling towards it, and it's going to crash in and destroy the entire Earth.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. You can see what's going to happen. We have no way to stop that asteroid.
There's just no way.
There's just no way.
There's just no way.
I mean, even though you've got Cyborg and Raven,
there's all these other
superheroes that are old, but, apparently there's no other way.
And there's probably, they're old. I'm sure the superheroes didn't end with them, so there's probably younger ones.
Right. But no. But who's going to save the day? So Starfire. All of a sudden, you see her fingernails rip up and start tearing the walls up and go through the top of the tower. Then they cut to the scene where you see the asteroid barreling towards Earth. And then all of a sudden, you see these fingernails come up from the Earth and hit the rock in mid-flight directly in the middle. And, of course, it shatters her nails, but it winds up stopping the asteroid. She saves the Earth, but she never officially sets the record, so she feels like she was not all that special. But she saved the Earth because of her long fingernails.
But you gotta figure, if her nails were that long, and this takes place on Earth, in their world, in Teen Titans Go world, how the hell long were the fingernails of the person she was trying to beat? Good Lord!
Yes.
When you think about it that way.
Right. So obviously this is a cartoon, but the two just wound up working hand in hand at the same time, and I was like, this was meant to be. Yeah.
Well, on the topic of Guinness Book of World Records, I was doing a little searching myself, and since we're big comic book guys here, I always thought I had a pretty good sized collection of comics. My daughter just I know I don't have a huge amount. I have 5,000-6,000 comics, so I know it's not huge, but still, that's a pretty good size. It's mediocre, and my daughter just thinks I have millions of them. I know you have a big collection of comics.
Yeah, I got a pretty big collection.
Number-wise, what are you thinking?
It's a little over, I think, 28,000 at this point.
So that's 4-5 times the size of mine almost. Huge. I've been to your house. I've seen, huge. Well, the Guinness Book, if anybody's wondering, was set. The Guinness Book for the largest collection of comic books was set in August of 2015. The total number of comics by this collector named Bob Bretal is 100,822 copies. No duplicates were counted, so that's individual. Which, it's funny to me because when I think of the Guinness Book of World Records for comics, 100,000, let's just round up, say 110,000, doesn't really seem that much. If you would have asked me, I would have been like, oh, it's got to be in the millions or something.
Yeah.
But I get, it's 100,000. Like I said, the total only includes the number of unique comics. Duplicate copies were not included. He keeps his collection in a 3-car garage, which my wife would kill me right there. And, he's been collecting comics. Let's see. When he was 8 years old, he started collecting. His first one was Amazing Spider-Man 88. So that goes back into the 60s. It was by John Romita Sr. and Stan Lee. To me, John Romita Sr. is the ultimate Spider-Man artist. I don't fall on the Ditko side. Where do you fall on that?
I wouldn't disagree. That is probably some of my favorite stuff right there.
Yeah, I like Steve Ditko, who was the original Spider-Man artist, creator of Spider-Man.
Yep.
But to me, it's John Romita Sr. Anyhow, so this guy, he's got the largest collection. Good for him. But once again, if anybody's listening, this record was set 5 years ago. It's just looking to be broken, and on the Guinness website, there's a button that says apply now. So if you think you can beat this dude's collection, so hit apply.
Yeah, I was going to say, so just Andy and I do a lot of conventions, and we know people with really huge collections. Some guys have houses with barns full of stuff. Now, I'm willing to bet that some of the people we know probably have more. And yes, they have to be unique. But the other thing is, you have to have them counted. So there's an entire process. Most of the guys that we know probably wouldn't do it. So I'm willing to bet there are people out there that have more books and more unique books in a personal collection. So, the guy who owns Mile High Comics, things like that, they wouldn't count.
Well, but it depends because... See, that's tough because it doesn't say qualifier on this of, even though the guy that owns Mile High, and Mile High is, like it says, it's in Denver, Colorado. It's a dealer. He's a dealer. But what if he just went through and counted all the issues of comics he has and took out all the duplicates, and it's more than this? Would it discount because he's a dealer? Why you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I find it. I'm willing to bet that it probably excludes him because we know when I say dealers, which is his comics and which are his store's
because
comics.
If he really cared enough and was like, well, I can beat that record, he could literally go through, I would assume, and this is the Mile High guy, pull one of everything he has, as long as it's not duplicates, pull one of everything and go, no, this is now my personal collection, and beat it. And then let's say he does, and they count it, and then 2 days later, he's like, yeah, I don't want these anymore, I'm going to sell them. Well, at the time, I don't know.
Yeah, whereas this gentleman doesn't sell anything. He's like me. I don't sell my comics, really. A few here and there, but I wind up...
Well, you don't have many... I don't know about you, out of the 6,000 I have, I don't have a ton of duplicates.
No, I have duplicates, but they're usually just of my favorite key issues or something like that. And I always look to upgrade them I like better copies. So, if I get an X-Men 101 and, hey, there's a better quality one, I'll go ahead and buy one. So I have a few of them. first, when Rogue joins the X-Men, I got a bunch of her, Binary, when Captain Marvel becomes Binary in the X-Men, I got a bunch of copies of that because it's just one of my, favorite issues.
Are you talking when she's Binary on the cover and stuff, the Dave Cockrum one?
Yeah, I think it's like 164.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't ask me why. That just became a really interesting incarnation for me. Short-lived, but it was really cool.
With the Captain Marvel movie that came out last year, did that one shoot up in value?
It went up a little bit, not as much, because they actually call it when she went Binary. So they actually make that comment, but it went up a little bit, but nothing ridiculous.
Right. Cool. Yeah, no, I remember that issue. I like that costume a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Dave Cockrum was just great at costume designs.
Yep.
All right, well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Go out and check out Good Boys. Let us know what you think of it. We think you'll love it. If you think you can beat the Guinness book for having more comic books than this guy, do it. It's been 5 years. Somebody's got to out there.
Yep. Leave us any comments on our Facebook page, and particularly if you want to do anything with that Guinness Book of World Records for all of you that have lots of comics.
And please remember to like and subscribe to the podcast. Give it a rating. 5 stars would be the best, of course.
Yep. You can find us now. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on iTunes. SoundCloud. And then we'll post them on our on Facebook so you'll have links to them.
That's right. All right. Until next time. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Until next week, grab your 3D glasses.
Get your favorite comic books, roll them up, and put them in your back pocket the way you should treat comics.
Throw your pigskin up on the mantle. This is Dennis.
This is Andy. Later, friends.